Intro. We'll be looking at rhetorical devices, or as some say, rhetorical techniques or literary devices. From a public speaking standpoint, these are ways you can use words creatively to make your message more persuasive, enhance your message, and make it more likely to stick. There are lots more out there, and it's important to say I didn't invent these. I am just truncating what I saw in Lyon's video, Rhetorical Devices for Persuasion. So let's get into it. Alliteration and rhyme. Alliteration is the repetition of the first letters in words that come close together in a phrase or sentence. And there are dozens of popular brands that use this technique to give their names rhythm and emphasis. Companies like Dunkin' Donuts, Bed Bath & Beyond, Coca-Cola, Kit Kat, Weight Watchers. Alliteration is a go-to option for speakers when you have to make an impact without many words. Like John F. Kennedy said in his inaugural speech, he wanted us to break the bonds of mass misery. That's two B's and two M's at the beginning of those words, and it sounds amazing. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, he said he wanted the nation to rise from the dark and desolate and from the trials and tribulations. Rhyming is another way to take advantage of the sound of words. A good rhyme makes your message shine. One of the most famous rhymes was in a speech by the well-known lawyer Johnnie Cochran to the jury in his defense of O.J. Simpson in the 1990s. So, a piece of evidence in the trial was a bloody glove that was found on O.J.'s property, and it was a pretty damning piece of evidence, except for the fact that O.J.'s hand didn't really fit in the glove right away. And in his speech to the jury, his lawyer, Johnnie Cochran, said, "If it don't fit, you must acquit." In the right spot, a good rhyme can elevate your message. Analogy. An analogy describes one item in terms of another in an interesting way to add emphasis. This engages listeners' imaginations and connects things in our mind. It draws us in. In JFK's inaugural speech, he said, "Those who had foolishly sought power by riding the back of the tiger ended up inside of it." He's comparing a desire for power to messaging with a wild tiger. It's very colorful. Martin Luther King Jr. used an analogy by comparing justice with flowing water. He said, "We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." Analogies, like other forms of comparison, help listeners connect dots in our mind, maybe for the first time. And that engages our imaginations and draws listeners deeper into the message. Metaphor. A metaphor is a fairly direct comparison when you state that one thing is another thing. A famous metaphor is that the eyes are the window to the soul, and that helps us visualize what the speaker is saying. So my eyes are not literally windows, but a metaphor directly says that they are, and we as listeners know the difference. But metaphors stretch our imaginations in a visual way. Parallelism or parallel structure. Quick examples of parallelism are expressions like easy come, easy go, like father, like son. Parallel just means side by side, going in the same direction. One of my favorite short examples is when Peter Parker's Uncle Ben says to the young Spider-Man, "With great power comes great responsibility." This will give your message the feeling of balance and cohesion because the parts of your message will match and repeat. It adds smoothness and unity to your message. And this is often done by starting or ending the different talking points in your message with the same phrases. And can you handle one more example for Martin Luther King? I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. In fact, that was the 4th point in a row. He made that start with the phrase, I have a dream, a total of 8 times in about 60 seconds. That parallel structure, that repetition built on the momentum of his central point each time. So, you look for ways to use parallelism on key sentences and parallel structure to frame the main points of your message consistently. Antithesis. Antithesis is where you make a connection between two things, but by contrasting them. The first part of the statement is a reference point that the second part of the message contrasts with. There's a famous quotation by Ralph Waldo Emerson carved in a boulder. He once said, "It is not the length of life, but the depth of life." Now, to me, contrasting that second part of the statement with the first has way more impact than just saying the second part that life is about depth. By using antithesis, it really elevates the point. Probably one of the most famous examples was by JFK, stating that, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." So, he's contrasting the second part with the first. Another powerful illustration was the point made by Bill Clinton at the Democratic National Convention years ago. Clinton said, "People the world over have always been more impressed by the power of our example than by the example of our power." You can use this antithesis technique to make your idea stand out more and make it more memorable. Conclusion. So, those are what I consider the top rhetorical devices and some suggestions about how you could use them in a public speaking situation.